Good morning, Coldwell Banker George Realty. Thank you for attending our Friday training question and answer. And I'm going to turn it over to Peter to address some items.
Well, I was just thinking that there are two little things that came across to me recently. An agent was asking me what cancellation contract with respect to the cancellation of escrow. And those are two different things. So a lot of times the agent said that, well, what I get a cancellation of contract, I can get my deposit back. No, not at all. Even if you sign the cancellation of contract where they have a box they saying that the seller agrees to refund all the deposit is not automatic. It says specifically in the cancellation contract. I think it's section 2D. Okay, specifically says that the refund of the deposit or the cancellation of escrow is not automatic. So you still have to have the seller and buyer sign a mutual agreeable escrow instruction instructing the escrow to refund how much deposit, because a lot of time the amount of deposit is dispute, so you have to really have a definitive amount that should be refunded before the escrow will refund any money to the buyer. Okay, so once you get the cancellation of a contract, you are in good shape, because if the seller will not refund the deposit to you, you can sue them, and then most likely you will prevail in the lawsuit, and then you have attorney fees and all that coming back to you. So you are protected, but any lawsuit will take time, and it's a headache. So you don't want to risk that. The best way is, of course, to get it amicably from the to the seller, and you have a mutually agreeable escrow instruction telling the escrow officer to refund exactly how much to the buyer. Okay.
Okay, Peter, because we used to go back and forth, and I know what side I'm on this back and forth with some other agents. If there is no EMD money or initial deposit money in escrow and you are the listing agent, you can't just move to another escrow and start selling again.
Exactly.
Can you explain that a little more? Because people argue about that.
Okay, because if you don't have the earnest of money deposit in there, theoretically there's no escrow is open yet. So if you have a cancellation of contract, or even if you don't have the cancellation of contract and the other party already breached the contract, then you can unilaterally cancel the contract. But the escrow cannot be unilaterally canceled. It has to be mutually agreeable. But if you don't have the earnest money deposit in the escrow, theoretically there is no escrow open. Okay, so if you have the cancellation contract, or if somebody breached the contract or unilaterally, then you can go ahead and open another escrow without the fear that you still have a escrow hanging over your head.
But you need to cancel the contract, or does the breach?
The contract, you just give notice to them that, hey, you
notice to perform,
and now the contract is officially canceled, and you're in good shape.
Right, you notice to perform them and then send the cancellation, and then it's done because you don't have an open escrow. Okay,
right, exactly.
All right, that's good information, because there's been a lot of talk about what happens in those cases. Anything else, Peter?
Okay, another thing is about the liquidated damage. And the liquidated damage also not automatic. Okay, even though you agree to it, you sign the initial and sign, it's not automatic. It only gives you the right to sue the other party for the liquidated damage without proving the actual damage. Because in a lawsuit, if you want to sue anybody, you have to prove your actual the damage that you suffer. But in the liquidated damage, you don't have to show or to prove that you have sustained a certain amount of damage. All you can say is that, well, it's hard to, in the provision, liquidated damage, you always say that it's hard to evaluate how much damage there is. And so the both party will agree to a certain liquidated damage, in case that somebody breaks the contract. So that liquidated damage is the definitive amount that should be given to the party who suffered the damages. Okay, then you don't have to prove that the actual damage in court. So it's much easier to get the liquidated damage, but you have to, it's not automatic. In other words, escrow will not release the liquidated damage to you if you cancel escrow or you cancel the contract. You still have to go have a mutual. Either you have a mutual consent between the buyer and seller, or you go to court and get a court proceeding to get the liquidated damage.
And the liquidated damage on residential 1 to 4 is capped at 3%.
That's correct.
But be careful on commercial, because as Peter's trained us, that is not capped on the liquidated damage. You need to cap it in the contract, correct, Peter?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
residential, it's automatically capped 3%, but in commercial, it's not. You have to put it yourself.
Yes,
implement it yourself.
it can be any percentage
Any
agreeable to both parties.
uh-huh.
Yeah, but the residential is kept statutory.
Yeah. So in the way I think that clause is written in the residential purchase agreement, like let's say you only put 2% in, that's why you'll see listing agents always countering up to 3%, because it's whatever's in escrow on your residential. Now, if you put 5% in, they can only keep 3 in a liquidated damage case. Okay, so that's why listing agents should always on residential make sure they get 3% initial deposit. Yeah, you don't want to go lower, because you'll see people coming in with 1.5%, 2%. Any questions for Peter from Zoom? Okay, so I have one thing to share, and it just so happens that somebody in here is a lot better at this than me, but I want to show you what I did in a matter of minutes. Is that showing? Share. Okay, so I'm having like brain problem. I cannot think of how to write a description that I need to write today. So I came in here, it took me 5 minutes. I wrote this, please write in a professional manner. This is a free chat GPT. Okay, so now you're going to see that I asked it to write it in a professional manner and give me some ideas to sell the building. So chat GPT, which we'll amend, we're not going to use it exact, but it did write a pretty nice description, as you can see. So I can copy and paste this into a Word document and manipulate it further. So just so you know, this is a free service, and Harrison Cam knows a lot more about it than I do, because he has a premium chat GPT, but just use whatever you can use. This is a great start to this project on writing the description. So if you're stuck, use the free chat GPT and get some ideas, because I know we've had training on it, but that's the one thing I took out of those trainings is I started playing with chat GPT and trying to figure out how to prompt it. So if anybody wants to play with it, I really recommend it, because it will get you going on writing your descriptions.
Yeah.
Or if you have a problem trying to express yourself in an email, throw it into here. Do you have anything to add, Harrison?
Not so much for the free version, but if people are wanting to upgrade to the 4.0 paid version, there's like a lot of new features. Like you have a larger word count. You can upload huge PDFs and ask them to analyze it for you. You can do picture creation, and that's about it.
Okay.
I use it a lot. You can also use it to find comps, not on CoStar, but you can find like rental comps, on like Zillow and.
Oh,
There's free sites if you want.
oh my God, fabulous.
Is it really an chat GPT?
Yeah,
Oh,
because you can have an address and then you can kind of describe your address a little bit and say, hey, can you find something like a rental comp similar to this? And they'll actually provide you the links as well.
Interesting.
Oh my
Didn't know that.
goodness. Oh, it's so neat. I'm gonna get that. Oh, that's great.
They'll like, surf the web for you.
Oh, okay, so,
Yeah.
you guys on Zoom, it'll surf the web for you on the premium and look for rental comps and such. So is there any questions?
yeah, I have a comment on ChatGPT. Kennedy, Christy Kennedy came in 3 times already to talk to us about the powerful feature of the GPT. But in order to get how to learn it, you got to get hands-on. You have to come in and somebody actually have to show you on a computer or phone and see how you go step by step, because what she told us is just very general.
Yeah,
Of
This is a general.
yeah, so it's very superficial. In order to get deeper into that, you get to come in and hands-on training.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to prompt it. Like I was reading or watching a video where you say, write to me like you're the CEO of a real estate company, or write to me like you're a real estate agent. So there's a lot of ways and there's a lot of power in this to prompt and get ideas.
I think just the best way to do it is to test its limits. So just, do whatever you want to say, like write whatever you want until you realize that it's something that it can't do. So figure out all the ways it can do something. So you can have just like a broad spectrum of like what it can do.
Yeah. So for those of us who gets writer block or doesn't know how to exactly say it, on descriptions and stuff, this is a wonderful tool, and this generated on the free side. Okay, free Chat GPT. Are there any questions?
Yes, are we gonna, I have one, Michelle, are we gonna have a training on this? Like someone to sit down and show us how to work it? I have it too. I just got to put on mine and I'm not quite sure how it works. So are we gonna have someone to come in and show us?
Yeah, we can have a training. I'll see if I can recruit someone that's better than me, because I'm at the tip of the iceberg. I'm just, this is all so new to me, but yeah, it might not be a Friday, but maybe we'll try to do a day with Chat GPT if you want to come in and bring a laptop and we can all do it together.
You know who know how to do it is Jacqueline.
But I don't know that she has a premium account. So
Oh, okay.
maybe we'll get a premium account and then we'll get somebody that has worked the premium account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that you can see the power of paying $60 a year or something. I was
$60 a month.
a month, 20 a month. Okay.
120 a year, right?
No, it's 240, but it's still worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yes, in answer to your question, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. So there's another thing that I'm gonna ask Peter to talk about. It's when we're in a transaction and things are getting a little hot or sideways on the transaction, and somebody keeps texting you, calling you, emailing you, and there's no response from you.
Yeah, this is a very common problem. The other agents are frustrated about non-responsive messages and telephone calls and emails. And what can they do? The most common thing is to call the brokers of the other of the agent, right? So they always call me and say, hey, so and so ignore my call and all this and that. And actually, it only takes a little bit of comforting thing to kind of calm down the emotions and just call the agent and say, hey, what's going on? You're not responding to to other people's requests and so you know it's a very simple thing, but don't ignore anybody's on request in the email, phone, and text messages, because it can be very annoying. Though. Just imagine yourself, you're doing the same thing and the other party it just totally ignore you, So what are you gonna do? So it's very simple thing, but you shouldn't ignore it.
Yeah, it tamps everything down when you acknowledge and hit a problem head on with the other agent. No, it's a terrible feeling. I've had experienced that where they're just gone.
Yeah.
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 No, I agree. That's the worst feeling, especially if you're in escrow with that person not answering you. It can be very, yeah.
Very simple things to do, just text to the other agent, buyer agent, is in escrow or is in the process of going to escrow. And then
Oh, you mean when you're trying to submit an offer and you're not getting an answer? Yeah, we should always answer that, I think, right, Peter? Yeah, don't leave people hanging. Let them know. Does anybody online have any questions? Any concerns? Anything going on in your transactions? Okay. So in January, we're going to start on the RPA and all the disclosures. As you know, there's some changes coming up in them. I don't think they're huge. I'm going to review them Monday. But we'll go over all of them. If it's something that you need to know right away, we'll be communicating that to you. And the training will start the first Friday in January, and it will conclude at the end of January because we want to go through the disclosure package as well. And a couple of things. Let's see. Are there any issues on forms that people need to know right now?
I just want to tell everybody that the December release about the forms is going to be actually is supposed to be released yesterday, but I checked today this morning.
Oh, still not there.
It's not there yet. So probably the end, maybe today or tomorrow, it will appear on the car website. The forms. But I will go over the changes.
In the meeting, right?
There are 64 forms that being changed, but most of them are not minor changes, and there are some new forms. There are about 9 new forms. So I'm going to go through that with you guys in the next few weeks as it comes along, and
Oh, good. Okay.
able to review with you, but if you want to get a preview of those forms, you can always go to the car website.
Okay. Does anybody on Zoom okay, I see a question.
Yeah, because the forms are being updated every half a year. June and December.
That is true about that.
Yeah,
Okay, we have a question. How do I respond to clients who want to refer to Zillow or Redfin estimates and are relying more on those estimates rather than the CMA that we prepare? That's a good question. You want me to?
yeah, cool.
Okay, so Zillow and Redfin, when they're establishing comparables, it's not that this is how I see it. It's not the human hand on it, because when you are doing comparables, you're trying to compare like a property that has the same upgrades, beds and baths, of course, but those kind of things, you're taking into account the lot size, where the property is located. So there's many things that go into preparing comparables. You should look at them very closely to make sure that it is indeed a comparable to your property, similar amenities to the property, things like that. That's why I think our CMAs are far superior to anything generated online, because it's not the human touch and our brains and eyes looking at the other properties to make sure that they are comparable to the subject property. Does that answer your question, whoever put that in the chat box?
There are other resources, you know, with the title insurance company, they have a certain CMA that you can resort to. Those are very helpful, you know, for
Oh,
example,
yeah.
I always go to the WFG, first, you know, the property profile and then try to get, they have a very comprehensive, thing, you know, all the information about for the property about, you know, all the quick claim deeds, all the, you know, the comparables, and the value or how to do, or the demographics, you know, a lot of things like that, very useful. So just go through that first. Don't always rely on the Redfin or the, you know, the Zillow. They are very rough, you know.
Yeah, they always, I know clients like, you know, I went to Redfin or I went to Zillow and, you know, those prices are much cheaper, you know, and it's like,
Well, it's always $100, right?
it is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. They pretty much just input whatever information's in there and then they gather everything and they put it together rather than physically going over there and doing the stuff and looking at the properties and, you know,
Yeah.
that's how you do the comparable physically rather than just, you know, having a computer,
Yeah, I agree.
you know, put all that stuff in.
And there's a program called Ignite, with the first American title. NG Tank, is very useful in providing information, on that. Ignite,
Ignite
yeah.
with
RE
Angie Tang.
Ignite. Or RE with Ignite.
RE Ignite is a good program through the
Just call
title
NG
company.
Tank. You have to register for it though, you know? Because, it's a special, program that, or app that provided by the First American Title. Very useful.
Hold on. Are there any questions in the chat, in the Zoom? Pretty quiet, okay. Anybody in the room have any questions or things they want to address? No?
Good. I mean, that ChatGPT, that's the one that I'm really want to look at.
Well, I'll take a stab, but I'll probably need some help because I am at the very tip of it. And you know how I'm learning it is I'm actually TikToking and then people are saying, do this prompt, do that prompt. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying all kinds of stuff.
I usually go to YouTube. When in doubt, I YouTube it.
Yeah.
Anything like tutorials and stuff.
Yeah, so it's worth exploring and then explore it a little bit and then we can have a class on it. Anybody else want to address anything?
I use ChatGPT as a real estate professional.
Oh, okay, that's a good. Okay, so type into YouTube how to use Chat GPT as a real estate professional. That's a tip from Harrison. Okay. All right. So if there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to come back in. Okay, then we are going to conclude the meeting. Thank you all for coming and we'll be, as Peter said, addressing the changes on the forms. And then in January, we'll train them here in the training room. So thank you all for your attendance. I appreciate it. And I hope you got some ideas out of this meeting today. Thank you very much, Coldwell Banker George Realty.
Thank you.
Yeah.